In episode 90 of our short 8-episode miniseries Book of Dawn IOTH Academy, Athalor and Mantra descended into the depths, the caves beneath Designer 8's superweapon, hoping to activate it and turn it against their enemies. They found that the steam that rises up from beneath that is supposed to allow them to manipulate the weapon is powered off. As they explored deeper and deeper through poisonous fumes and broken down machinery, repairing things as they went, they carved out paths and escape routes for themselves, leaving the Phoenix Knights and Wardens upstairs to hold off the mechanical forces of their enemy. Down within the depths, they discovered alchemical spills, complex machines, and a couple of mysteries as well. All the way below the third sub-basement, the last area described by Designer 8's notes, they came upon the elemental wellspring itself, a fiery portal guarded by fiends and a corrupted elemental they decided not to mess with yet. Elsewhere in the deepest, darkest parts of the dungeon, they opened up a vault, an airlock that led into a cave filled with webs, which they immediately closed because nobody here likes spiders. Unfortunately for them, spiders like them. A horrifying spider drake stealthily followed them back up as they continued their repairs, attempting to understand and activate this tremendous machine. It ambushed them by spinning webs in their path and closing in rapidly on them as they were poisoned by the noxious fumes of an alchemical spill. Thanks to their own magical cleverness and Uncle's intervention, they were able to trap this monster in a narrow passageway and kill it, but they both took pretty significant damage along the way. After plumbing out most of the area and really thinking that they're about ready to turn this whole thing on and start firing it up, they went back upstairs to check on their allies, only to find that all the mechanical minions of Anacra are pounding down the door, preparing to strike. I left my tinfoil hat on. I didn't mean to leave my tinfoil hat on last time. Regardless, welcome everybody to Detention. We didn't have Lemon with us on this episode. She's flying back from her awesome gig overseas, but she will rejoin us next time. Let's go through this real quick. We're gonna do the thing that you suggested, Khroen. Stars and wishes.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I'm gonna make you explain it because it's your group that does it. It'll be good content.
So you used to do it on another stream show. Actually, we don't stream our shows anymore. It's just like a home game. But his name is Matt Foreman. Great DM. I think he's writing some like TTRPG content too. So maybe I'll like link that in the future if it ever comes out. But anyways, stars and wishes we do at the end of every episode, where stars like we pick our favorite moment from the session, and to just get a sense of like what everyone's again favorite moment was. And then wishes, which are things that we want to have happen in the future, be it the next session or some point in the future, something that is on your mind from that session that like, oh, I want this to resolve, or I want, my character to do this, or this NPC to, it's just kind of whatever you want to wish for in the future for the game. Yeah. I suppose I will go first. All right. So star or favorite moment from tonight's session. Probably when we were figuring out, like, obviously this is a real in-depth, like, kind of like dungeon delvey, obviously, with the maps and stuff. And great work in the maps, by the way. This is and setting up all like the lighting and stuff.
I'll shout out the map designer but go ahead.
Yeah, but kind of just just figuring out ways to get through it all, figuring out the traps, burning through the metal, just kind of things like that, and navigating it in ways that we can to break the map and force you to do a bunch of extra work. But no, it works. And then a wish, I suppose, for future is that somehow we find a way. Okay, I don't mind if we're not as effective as possible about the destruction, as long as we figure out how to like actually successfully disable this thing afterwards and like blow it up. Then I think that's that's a job well done. As long as we can do the first step of the damage and blow it up, we'll be satisfied. Because with that fortunate Arcana roll, surely we'll be able to make use of it and
absolutely
disable that room and do the boom thing. Yeah, that's me.
We love doing the boom thing. Legs, give me stars and wishes from this episode.
I was trying very hard to think about the star, but I don't think anything beats Mason using the only thing Sig is weak to. Rolling
Oh,
in that
yeah.
one. Like, he was going to take 0 damage in that encounter, and Mason just scorches his ass.
So, you know what? Let's take some damage, Sig. You looking like you need a little bit of a beating.
Oh.
Freaking high level
That's-
NPCs running around destroying the intended level progression. Eat this.
Great.
That's fair.
As for a wish, oh, I might as well just throw shit off the wall that I hope will happen, but it's very unlikely to because breaks law. I'm hoping that maybe go back and finish up that potion of phasing with some stuff from the spider drake and use it to, I don't know, mess with this tower somehow.
All right. All right. Hey, if you take
That'd
the
be cool.
time, it could absolutely happen.
We have a lot of time on our hands, surely. So much time.
Yeah, just time for days.
Exactly. So I've strayed from doing a lot of like one thing when you're playing D&D with your friends around your own table, like you can do whatever you want. You can have an entire episode that's just shopping, right? But we, in addition to being friends who are playing D&D, we're putting on a show. And a lot of the minutia of checking doors and checking for traps and combat for dungeon crawling, as fun as it is, it can also get really grindy and it can really drag out, which is not always as entertaining to the audience. So I've been leery about doing dungeon crawls, and when I do them, I try to put a lot of interesting like plot developments and character moments and stuff, but you folks carry by adding roleplay to the fight and to the story and stuff like that. The other thing about dungeon crawls is you're both like in the Baldur's Gate sauce right now, right?
Oh yeah.
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 It feels the exact same. I'm just
It's
more
so
of the Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. So it's tricky because video games are so much better at dungeon crawls. Like tabletop used to be the only way to do dungeon crawls, but now, like Diablo, Baldur's Gate now it gives you that level of creativity and flexibility that you don't have in action RPGs. And I feel like to a certain degree, that's going to push tabletop, or at least people who are kind of in the same content creation space, even further away from the really grindy mechanical stuff. And I love mechanical stuff. I think I'm primarily a storyteller when it comes to running games, but I love pulling out tools and toys and spells and rules that sort of supplement that. Like you've both seen the nonsense that we've thrown up, like here, take this, take that, take this, all the bonus rules that we use. So how do you feel about dungeon crawling? And it's totally okay to be honest. Dungeon crawling in a campaign like this, in terms of it being interesting content, an interesting part of the story.
I think that this dungeon crawl worked particularly well because we didn't split the party. I think in a split party scenario, it would be too slow to get anything meaningful done. But I think in like these mono party scenarios, it's really cool to engage with.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Khroen?
Yeah, +1 to that. Also, it just like I wouldn't anticipate this to ever be the case here, but like sometimes in some like other games, it's like, oh, there's a dungeon crawl for the sake of just like dungeon crawl. Like it's a quest that you didn't have to do, and it's just like we're going through a dungeon, and some point it's just like, oh, like why are we even here? Like this is too much effort than it's worth. But this, it's like obviously very relevant to the campaign and story, and all of our characters have a stake in what the result is, and so I feel like the motivations for doing the dungeon crawl for there feels more meaningful and impactful to me. So I like it, and I think this one done well. So yeah.
Fortunately, Lemon's plot to destroy Roll20 last time so that she wouldn't miss out on an episode was thwarted. I'm gonna see if we can do a side episode with her to get her caught up to the same point so we can avoid the exact party splitting thing that you were talking about. So what should we do about a major problem with the central premise of this campaign?
Which is that if the namesake is gone.
No, that's a me problem. All right, that's a me problem. Like we've talked about that behind the scenes. You have some cool ideas. We'll get to that. You know what the main problem of this campaign is? It's that there are high-level NPCs all over the place, and it would break immersion if they didn't do something about it. Like if they just sent you kids, then it would absolutely break immersion.
We're in that like constant Marvel problem of like, where are the Avengers?
Exactly. I don't want to do Where Are the Avengers in the side stories. So do you have any thoughts on how we can make sure, and again, this is kind of a me problem, but I'm interested on where you're coming from. How do you feel about sharing the spotlight with all these NPCs, and what are ways you think we can make sure that the focus remains on our player character?
Ooh.
Hey, you want to go first?
No, you go first.
I guess a couple of thoughts. I think for me personally, the balance is like fine. Because sometimes like we have been able to do a bunch of stuff on our own. And even things like, oh, there's these like infernal plots or like, whatever extra power things that like have our characters all like being entwined in the story. And from me, it seems like the, teachers and stuff at the school recognize that. And I don't know if I'm actually like accurate or on base with this, but it seems like the teachers don't quite understand all that. So it's like, oh, maybe we should have Mason, Athalor, and Garnet all going to the Silent City and like doing these things. So even just like coming with it feels like the teachers already kind of like trust and respect, and maybe even just like out of not understanding or kind of, I don't know if I would go so far as to say fearing these outside of their scope kind of plot lines, but I feel like it's fine personally. And sometimes it's nice to be able to be like, you know what? We are just kids. Adults show up, help out. Like I think it's
Pull your
fine.
weight.
Yeah, actually. We shouldn't like, yeah, and I don't think that's too like diminishing from my player experience personally.
I think that we do a good job of like incorporating all the teachers in their own roles into like the role play that goes between like fights. I think that maybe there's a way where we can reduce your action figure fatigue by
That's the
like
main
maybe
problem.
like I think that like when we get into combat with the teachers, maybe us as the players could like roll for stands, to steal a weeb term, and like each of us gets like a teacher where we can control their turns. Like we don't control the role play, but we can like try and figure out cool ways to use their moves so that like we've got a little bit more players being inventive alongside action figures.
That is an excellent idea. That's actually the exact right idea. If you're cool wrapping your head around a 14th level character with spells and magic items and all
Well,
that
like
comes with.
we can always defer to you.
Yeah. Oh, again, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that, like, as somebody who's playing with all those action figures, they're pretty
Yeah.
complicated. But if you're down, I'm 100% down.
Yeah.
I think it'd be worth like putting a disclaimer before a combat, like, hey, we're trying a new thing where like the players are gonna like control one of the teachers as well, so that we get a little bit more player interaction. I'll be like, Gnomes, what does this mean? Help me.
See, the other problem though is that that's going to make the teachers so much more effective. I'm gonna really have to.
Then you have to adjust, and it's on you again.
Because like I pull them up and I'm like, use a cantrip, whatever. Just
Yeah.
take your turn, do something useful. But then, between sessions, Jen is gonna be just poring over the spell list, and when we come back, we're like, so I noticed that this teacher has this spell, and now I'm gonna pull it out in a way you never expected.
Yeah, I think that's why we like roll for stands. Like we say, like 1, 2, 3. Like 1 is X, 2 is Y. So like generally we'll be controlling like maybe a different character. There's a little bit less like hard prep that goes into it.
Yeah, these are as much features as they are bugs. Though. Being surprised by the party is, it's. And hey, maybe after a couple of these plot lines wrap up, you'll be able to go. You'll never go back to being kids. That ship has sailed. But maybe you'll be able to like do some more on your own stuff for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go fight the red caps again.
Oh boy.
Guess what, bitch? I'm back.
And I'm level 6 now.
You killed F.
So
Ooh.
I
Ruin your
didn't.
life.
Rip
I
F.
didn't use and steal. Were you about to say something, Khroen?
I just said rip F.
Oh, rip F. Anyone remember F? Press F. I didn't. You didn't build a full run of show for today, and we're gonna steal the one that Pods of War made because it's in the future, and we wanted to kind of do a shorter episode since we here. So just spoiler alert, put a bucket on your head and hit it if you don't want to have Baldur's Gate spoilers. Real quick, give me the best thing or the funniest thing that has happened in your playthroughs, each of you so far.
I'm still pretty early in, but probably like kicking that squirrel into a rock and just like powderizing it into a puddle of blood. Just because I didn't see it coming, I thought we were gonna like just hunt it away, but full on just goes for like the football kick and 3 points as it.
Okay, I think I have one that's not too spoilery, but
Spoiler warning,
I,
spoiler warning, spoiler warning. Go ahead.
Put
yeah,
it on mute.
no, I think it's pretty spoiler free here. But so my group of friends playing with the group before, and some of us are you know, a little bit more silly than others, and so one of my friends, he's playing a druid, but he's like pretty weak, and so he just keeps like trying to do like the action like shove on my character, who's a paladin and very strong. And he'll like do a shove once on me, and like in game mechanics, I'm just like, oh, whenever I see him do that, I just like shove him. He goes flying, and I could like chain like shove him to like stun lock him. And he's like, wait, stop, no, I regret it.
It's only
Stop,
funny
my
when I
bad.
do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's like, oh, athletics check, shove, fail, and I just turn around and fucking yeet him across the map. And just keep chain CCing him. But that's in the downtime of stuff, so that's not spoiler at all. But I love
That's
it.
fantastic. Fantastic. All right, yeah, we're not going to do a whole bunch of questions and stuff like we will in the future just because it's a shorter episode, but I will go ahead and give the two of you a shot if there's anything you wanted to throw in or add before we wrap up. No obligation.
Thanks for watching, gamers.
Here we go. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Also, if you have been watching people play Baldur's Gate 3 and you're jealous, but you're also short on cash, you can pick up Divinity Original Sin 2, basically the same game mechanics, but much cheaper. It's really, really good, I promise. It's from the same
True.
studio.
Yeah. +1 to that. Join the Discord as well. Casters and Castles. Boom.
Fantastic. All right, we will catch up with you next time with more Book of Dawn IOTH Academy and more Detention. Peace.